Gopala, 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 Gokula Nandana Gopala, 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 Gokula Nandana Gopala. मोदकं सदा विमुक्तिसाधकम् कलाधरावतं सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the second mantra of the 11th Namaka. Before we can start, fan. Can you turn the fan? Thank you. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः After adha, give a pause and then kshamachaраha. Neelagriva Shitikantha Sharva Adha Kshamachaраha. So this is the mantra. Mantra number 4. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः. Let us do the next one also, because the meaning is continuing. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः दिवगम् रुद्रा उपश्रिताः. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः दिवगम् रुद्रा उपश्रिताः. नीलग्रीवाः शितिकण्ठाः च. Those who have blue neck are called Nilagriva or Nilakantha. Shitikantha, the one who have white neck. Sharvaha, one of the names of Lord Shiva, one of the names of Rudra. Adhaha Kshamaacharaha, who are moving around under the earth. Now, for all these other mantras, as we move forward, one sentence that has to be added in, which is considered as an implicit statement for all the mantras in this particular anuvaka, is Teshagam Sahasrayojane Vadanvani Tanmasi. So the understood meaning is अस्मिन् महत्यर्नवे अंतरिक्षे भवाधि तेषागम सहस्रयोजने वदन्वानि तन्मसि. So that one sentence constantly goes with every mantra, making it two sentences of the Anushtup Chanda, which has been further referred earlier. Did we do the second mantra? We started with the third and fourth. Asmin mahati arnave antarikshe. Now that Paramatma, who is Mahati, the focal point of this mantra is Mahati. Mahati meaning that which is vast, big. Because Naradji's Veena plays amazing combinations of music. Therefore, his Veena is also called Mahati. But here we are not taking that into consideration. Mahati meaning vast and big. Bhava Adhi. So all the various concepts, various lokas, various aspects of this creation, wherever there is ordinance, governance, and a certain seamless functioning of various functionalities are required, there are those Adidaiva who are functioning at that particular place. But who is it that keeps them on their track? Is the Rudra Gana. So they maintain, they're like Shiva Duta, spread across, Shiva Amsha, spread across, making sure that every aspect of this creation never loses its balance. It is consistent and it is constantly maintained. That they don't lose, or there is not any lapse in the natural way of existence. Such stronghold is Lord Rudra's control. Rudra means control. Is that even Yama, who we all are scared about, is scared of. This comes in Markandeya Purana when Markandeya wants to surrender to Lord Shiva, and Yamaduta's try doesn't happen. Yama himself comes, then Lord Shiva comes into picture, enter the dragon, and scares even Yama away. So it is this Lord who maintains the various aspects of Rudra. Like Lord Vishnu is Vyakta Swarupa in the forefront, who is trying to balance things. In the Avyakta Swarupa, helping to maintain things in balance, it is Rudra, Rudramsha, which are expressing in various levels. Here they are focusing on Arnava and Antariksha. Most of the Bengalis love this name, Arnab. There is no Vaba there. So it is Arnab. Arnab means oceans. So the vast oceans, mass of water, and the vast Antariksha. Antaha, that which is in between this world and the higher world. So how does Lord Shiva maintain it? By becoming the Rudramsha called Bhava. Bhava Adhi. So he who exists in the form of Bhava, which is the Rudramsha, maintaining the balance, that the oceans don't transcend their Maryada and function. Not just the ocean, Sagara, but the species and various creatures living in the ocean, they have their Adhisthana Devata. They also report to this Rudramsha to make sure that things are seamlessly functioning, that it is maintained in order. Now, Antariksha. There are so many aspects of this Antariksha, the space that we live in. I'm not saying the space of the house or the space of this building. The space of this entire Brahmanda, the solar system that lives in, exists in. Every single particle behaves, every single particle lives in a certain balance. That the earth revolves around its own axis and then revolves around the sun. While that is happening, the moon revolves around the earth. The moon and the earth together revolve around the sun. Like this, there are various planetary objects that function. We don't get a flash news. Suddenly Mars has gone off the orbit and suddenly it is going to crash into the moon or the earth. And imagine what kind of balance to be maintained. One of the bhajans is, Bhagwan, your Leela is amazing. That in order to maintain something in the space, we need to construct pillars and then prop them up. Now you have this entire cosmic dance wherein you maintain things in their orbit and balance, but then stamba binu akashare. You maintain in this akasha without any stamba, without any support, and each one of them is running in their own orbit. And their running in the orbit has various impacts, various influences on the water masses. The high tide is during the night. The lowest high tide is on the new moon day, and the highest high tide is on the full moon day. It is just the impact of one planetary object on the water masses. Similarly, the other planetary objects have equal influence on the water masses. That is why when there is a new moon, people are in a depressive state. When there is a full moon, people are hyperactive. That is how usually the moods are shown. And therefore, because of that influence on the mind, people who have certain ups and downs of the mind go to an asylum which is called lunatic asylum. It is born from the root word luna, which is the moon, the impact of the moon. It is not just the moon, but there are other planetary objects as well. That is why when we are born, we note down the place of birth, giving the longitude and the, what is the other one? Altitude, latitude. Okay. I always get confused between latitude and altitude. Latitude. So the coordinates, the GPS coordinates are fixed, and then based accordingly, the time of that particular zone is recorded, and according to these, whatever are the nakshatra and the rashis that are aligning, there are different calculations. I'm talking about the Jyotishya Shastra. Swamiji, do you believe in Jyotishya Shastra? Shastra means science. Science cannot be degraded with belief system. Science is something which can be experimented and proven. It is a Shastra. But there are two aspects to Jyotishya. There are certain formulas. You may have seen circular diagrams or square diagrams called the horoscope, which reveal the horror scope of that individual's life. Do you believe in that? Now the formulas are pretty mathematical, very straightforward mathematical equations. After having calculated, when we reach to the bottom line of all the calculations, when we finally come to the interpretations of those values in the bottom line, one needs to have intuitive wisdom. And that is where we find variations from one interpreter to the other interpreter. These mathematical calculations are so in alignment that they even have software. Whether you just put the longitude and the latitude and the time of birth and the place of birth is indicated, it calculates. How one interprets those calculations, there is a difference. One needs that connection of intuitive wisdom to interpret them. Now don't take it away so lightly, because it is this Jyotishya Shastra which has got a sublime understanding. Now one thing before I go into any sublime, just the pure physical part of it, wherein they had an understanding, the rishis had the understanding that the variations of impact depends on the coordinates of that individual where they were born. With a light variation of few seconds, the impact is different. So they knew the Kala Parimana, Desha Parimana, Vastu Parimana, all the possible inputs, data points. So they understood there is an understanding of all these sciences. Born of these sciences put together, wherein they can predict a year ahead of time, years ahead of time, what would be the exact time that at that point of the GPS location that there will be a sunrise and sunset. Where can the sun or solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse be perceived? I am not talking of today's announcement or today's science's announcements about these things. I am talking about the Panchanga Shastra, where all these are calculated and projected for the rest of the year. Have you seen the Indian Hindu almanac? In that Hindu almanac, all these things are very clearly stated. That all these things happen in such repetitive aspects that the science is drawn from there. And those calculations, they say what are the influences of various planetary objects on that individual born at that particular time in that particular place. In Hindi, there is a saying, Kaha Raja Bhoj or Kaha Gangua Teli. You may have heard of Bhoj, Raja Bhoj, Vikramaditya. I don't know if it is the same Vikramaditya who was the lead star in Vikram and Betal. My Chanda Mama favorite story. Sitting on the edge, reading that story, many times you do a little cheating. Read the last paragraph first. Otherwise, the tension is too high. Then read through the story. I don't know if it is that Vikramaditya or not, because there are various Vikramadityas mentioned in history. So Vikramaditya was a great king. And on that same day was born Gangu Teli. Teli, the one who draw oil out of seeds, cold press. Every village had a Teli. You give them certain amount of seeds. It's a barter system. You don't need to pay them. So they'll say for doing these many, there was this count called Ser. Ser, Sawa Ser. So Ser. So if Ser seeds have to be done, half a Ser is the fee for it. And that they would sell to make a living. Or that they would exchange for various other groceries and amenities. So Teli, and his name was Gangu. All his life he was in that oil pit. Both were born on the same date. Both were born approximately the same time. But little variation. One became a king, the other one was in the oil pit. So you may look similar, you may have similar environments, but then what is the time that you are born in? Because these are the impacts, these are the influences. So all these influences, all the planets, all the planetary movement, that which is ordained by that Rudra, that Rudramsha, we worship unto them. Therefore, this particular mantra is also used in the context of all the Navagraha Shanti. When the Navagraha Shanti is to be performed, this particular mantra is used to invoke those Rudra. The Navagrahas are those deities, presiding deities. Those who keep them in check, who has higher power? It is like, I pray to you also, I pray to your boss also, so that you can be kept in a conducive manner. Now, when all these Jataka and the horoscopes and their predictions and various pratyamnaya, various solutions that are given, do this homam, do this kind of vrata, do this kind of japa, go to this temple, go do this, offer this kind of lamp, various kinds of pratyamnayas are given. What it does is, it does not change life drastically. That you are a hunchback, ugly looking person, suddenly you do this, you become the beauty queen. That you are Gangu and you became Raja Bhoj, it doesn't happen. But what it does is two things bifold. One, the impact or the intensity with which we would have gone through that experience would be reduced quite significantly. The experience cannot be escaped from, but the impact of it is reduced. The second is by doing this mantrocharana, by the chanting and japa of those mantras, it builds the manasika bala, the strength born of that spiritual energy, which gives us the ability to go through that experience with more stability and firmness, not to run away from the experience. So we invoke the blessings of all these gods. It's not to say the multitude of gods. It is the same Rudra who is expressing in all these forms, in maintaining everything seamlessly in their functionality. Antariksha and Arnava, and this Rudramsha is called Bhava. Bhavodbhavaya Namaha. So that Bhava, that Rudramsha is worshipped here in this particular mantra. We have already chanted the third and fourth, getting into it. Nilagriva Shritikantha. Those who have blue neck, those who have white neck. If I was not following the commentaries, I would be lost here. Many places actually. Before I can start my reading and doing my research into various commentaries, I would first read that mantra, sit down and try to visualize. The Sanskrit part, these are the word meanings. How in heaven do I connect these things? And then when you start reading the commentary and how they put the interpretation in, oh, that way. Nilagriva Shritikantha. Now we are invoking that particular form of Shiva who is Adhaha Kshamacharaha. Those who are moving around under the earth. In the next mantra, in the fourth mantra, it is Nilagriva Shritikanthaha Divagam Upashritaha. Divagam, those who are managing, those who are maintaining the balance in the heavens. Antariksha, in between. This is in the heavens. So under the earth, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Patala, Rasatala, various lokas, and then Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Tapaha, Janaha, all these upper worlds. See, understand it like this. There is a 14-story building. Actually 15. Earth in between. 7 up, 7 down. All the blue-collar job. Is it called blue-collar job? Assembly line, packaging, all such blue-collar jobs are in the lower 7. Decision making, financing, executive and vision oriented, all are in the upper worlds. They are called white-collar jobs. Just so that you can get a visual picture of it. Sophisticated jobs in the upper worlds, non-sophisticated jobs in the lower worlds. Even their personalities and behavior are sophisticated in the upper 7. Rustic are the patterns of the lower 7. As what do you say? Ghettos. The lower worlds. The uptown is the upper world. Now, say there is this called Swarga, heaven. So that floor, heaven, there are different offices. One office is Vaikuntha. One office is Kailasha. One office is the Brahmaloka. One office, and in each one of them there are cubicles. And who is Narada? Narada is the liftman who can go up and down in any loka. You get the picture? So here specifically, they're talking of Adha Kshamacharaha and Divagam, those who are in the heaven and those who are in the other lower worlds. The lower worlds, that aspect of Rudra is called Sharva. Sarvebhyo Sharva Sharvebhyo Namaste Astu Rudra Rupebhyaha. Rudra Rupebhyaha, various forms, various aspects of that Rudra. So when you go into Shiva Purana and the avatar system of Lord Shiva is different. It is not like based on the convenient aspect of whenever I feel like I have to come into this world to manage and troubleshoot, like in Vishnu and his avatars. He is literally the troubleshooter. He finds the trouble and shoots them. But Lord Shiva's avatars, Shiva's forms are not that temporary that they come and go, but they are maintaining everything in its balance. Those who maintain the lords of the lower worlds is Sharva. Those who maintain the lords of the upper worlds, what do you call them? Even in the Senate, those who gather everybody and keep them for voting purposes. There is a specific word in US Senate. Whip. You hear the word whip, right? Majority whip. So the one who holds that whip and maintains that balance and seamless execution are the Rudragana, who is in the upper world. In the upper world, he is called, see, in the earlier mantra it was Bhava. In this mantra he is called Sharva. In the upper worlds he is called Rudra. So three aspects of Rudra covered here. The Sattvic Amsha of Bhagavan Shiva in maintaining this creation is called Rudra, upper world. In between and on the surface, he is called Bhava, the Rajasic Amsha of Lord Shiva. And in the lower worlds is the Tamasic Amsha. Now when you are going into a mechanic's pit, have you ever been into a mechanic's pit? Going into a mechanic's pit, you cannot have a tuxedo and clean. You have to take that off and wear those clothes even if there are stains on it. It doesn't matter. So going into the lower world, you cannot go with the Sattvic Amsha. You have to wear that makeup of the Tamasic Amsha, which will resonate with that environment and functionality. See, for us the difference when comparison to this aspect of Ishvara is, when we go into Tamasic Amsha, we don't have control over it. We don't use tamas for our benefit. Like, what is the best benefit of Tamasic Amsha at the Jiva level? Sleep. When do we sleep? Om Sahana Bhavatu to Purnamadaha we sleep. The Tamasic Amsha is not to our benefit. Where we have to invoke the Sattvic Amsha, there we end up invoking, not that we invoke, if we invoke we had control. We get drawn in to that slumber. Whereas for him, it is like wearing the external suit, depending on where he has to go. The lower worlds, okay, now I have to wear the Sharva clothes. Now I have to go to the upper world, then I have to wear the Rudra. Then I have to, in between, I have to take care with the Bhava. Clear? Because they are very technical words. And trying to put it, get it across with as many examples so that it can be clear as a concept. But I think these 14 floors, it made a good impact. Okay. Now there is another meaning of this Neelakantha and Shitikantha. See, Lord Shiva has been there eternally before the Kshira, what do you call Samudra Mathana, thank you. Kshira Samudra Mathana, he was there before that and he is there after that. What is the difference before and after? Earlier he was Shitikantha. His neck was white. Later it became Neelakantha. Right? Now there is another layer added to that. All those devotees who had reached to that Kailasha, reaching to that Kailasha is called Salokya. Salokya, reaching to the same world as the deity that I am worshipping. You are a fan of the President of America and you got an appointment. Not, you didn't just get an appointment, you got a job to shadow the President. That, and you are constantly in White House. That reaching to that place and to shadow the Lord, that is called Salokya. Then there is called Sayujya. Sayujya, you may have reached to that world, but have you done enough punya that you get the opportunity to serve that Lord? Sayujya. And then there are those who have the intensity of their upasana is so strong that they become Sarupya. Like when you see that your boss is wearing certain kinds of clothes and to maintain the standard. So you also invest into that kind of clothing, that kind of and sophisticated. Right? So these devotees become Sarupya, they become as if they are similar looking like that particular Lord. Here Rudra. So those who had reached to that Loka, Kailasa, before the Kshira Samudra Mathana, and they had acquired Sarupya, they are all Shitikantha. Those who reached to that Kailasha afterwards and acquired Sarupya, they are all Neelakantha. So even in the Sarupya, there is after, before and after. You have these photograph comparisons, right? Before, after. Before marriage, after marriage. Before pregnancy, after pregnancy. Before kids, after kids. And there is a difference. Now you take Obama for that matter. While he was running for presidency for the first time, and now you look at his photo. You compare it. The chicks sometimes do this to me. Sometimes they pull some, I don't know from where they will pull my photograph. And that about 18, 20 years ago photograph. And we have contacts, Swamiji. I said, okay. And then they place it next to my head. That was better. You're putting it together itself looks bad. Before and after. Similarly, all these who have acquired Sarupya, oneness with the Lord, they before the Kshira Sagara Mathana and after the Kshira Sagara Mathana, there are two kinds. The blue ones and the white ones. Neelakantha, Shitikantha. So those who are in the upper worlds, There are some who are Nilakantha, there are some who are Shitikantha. They constantly are observing, making sure that Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, all these gods and their chambers, their offices are functioning meticulously. Friday night today, and say the Vayu chamber, they're having a party, and Saturday morning they stop functioning. Why? You know what happens? Hangover. And they did not come to the job. It is the job of these Rudramsha in the form of Rudra who will whip them back into action. I'm just giving you a visual picture. This is not what happens there. Just making sure that you understand. It's just an example. Similarly, in the lower worlds, whether it is in whichever tala, rasatala, talatala, patala, in all these lokas, all these lords who are there in different worlds, these Rudras are the one who maintain them in shape. In fact, there is also a story in Ramayana that Hanumanji, his sweat had fallen while he was jumping from India to Lanka in Pavanahans Airlines. He was jumping across. And there was a crocodile which consumed that sweda, that sweat. And to that Makara, there was a son born. His name was Makara Dhwaja, the pride of Makara. He was like looking exactly like Hanumanji. Maya abducts Ramji and Lakshmanji. It is in this story that Hanumanji takes the Panchamukha avatar, wherein to subdue and kill that Mayasura, there are 5 lamps in that chamber and all 5 of them have to be blown at the same time, extinguished. You extinguish one and go extinguish it, this again comes up. But extinguished simultaneously. So Bhagwan, Hanumanji, he takes this 5-headed form and blows it away, thus thereby taking control of that Mayasura and killing him, and releasing Ramji and Lakshmanji from there and brings them back. There was before he could get to Mayasura, there was a big battle between Makaradhwaja and Hanumanji. Not knowing, 20 saal baad. Typical story, right? Lost in the Kumbh Mela and then found in another Kumbh Mela. Then recognizing that it was his own son, stops him and says, well, you look like me, you should be my son. Then they go into the story. There, after killing Mayasura, Hanumanji says that all these lokas have to be maintained by the Rudra or Rudramsha. I am Rudra and you are my Amsha. Take care of this Rasatala. You getting the point? So the lower worlds are also maintained by these aspects. Patala, it seems, was chaos. Then Lord Vishnu in the form of Vamana sends Bali to be the Lord of that Patala. So similarly, there are all these other lokas which have various lords. All of them are in sync alignment because of these Rudramsha who are taking care of the lower worlds. Now there is another aspect, another meaning of this blue and white representing. Shitikantha and Nilagriva, there is a reference in the Sanskrit, it's called Nirukta, Nisheshena Ukta, that which is like the thesaurus of Sanskrit vocabulary. Did I say it right? The word thesaurus. Dictionary gives the meaning, the thesaurus gives the synonyms, right? So there, Nilakantha, Nilagriva and Shitikantha are equated as representing realized masters. So the realized masters, having realized, there is one kind, Shitikantha. What do they do? Both of them are doing Loka Sangraha. But one refuses to come and participate in the world. It is not to be misunderstood that they are doing Loka Sangraha, Loka Kalyana by not participating. But in their deep meditative state, they are offering the balance so that the negativities don't uproot the system. And you look at various pairs like Gurudev and Tapon Maharaj, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda. One refused to move from the place. The other refused to stay in one place. Tapon Maharaj, when Gurudev said in his last days, please come down to Delhi, we'll take care of you, your health is failing. So Tapon Maharaj asked a very simple question. Hey, do you mean to say that in Delhi people don't die? Death is inevitable here or there. Even in that condition, he would not move out of Uttar Kashi. Similarly was Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he did not move out of Dakshineshwara. Vivekananda never stopped at one place. Constantly traveling and doing sanchara and prachara. So all these blue ones are those who do the Samaja Seva by Upadesha and Upakara. And the ordinary jivas require both their anugraha. So invoking Lord Shiva in these forms of saints and sages, those who are in their meditative equipoise and those who are actively participating in life, providing the knowledge, wisdom and direction for that society. So to both of those aspects, as a jiva, I prostrate to you when I see those forms. Now as we move forward to the next aspects of mantras, the mantra Rishi Drashtaraha mantra phala is given, but there is no dhyana shloka. It is nirguna upasana. Complete your question. It means that which is under the earth. Adaha means under, Kshama is the earth. That which is abiding, that which is residing. Upashritaha. So these next mantras do not have dhyana shloka, but have the mantra, mantra phala, rishi, drashtaraha and the chanda given. So the 5th, 6th and 7th mantra, they have certain mantra phala. The rishi is Durvasaji, chanda is Anushtup Chanda, and the devata is Sri Rudro Devata. What are the mantra phala? Removes all the inner enemies. Shad ripuhu, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara. The Purascharana Siddhi, again, after 1 month of Chandrayana Vrata, you remember Chandrayana Vrata yesterday? Starting on the full moon, 15 bites of food. And then the next day, reduce it to 14. By the time you come to new moon, it is no food, 0. And then the next day, Prathama, you have 1 bite. Dvitiya, you have 2 bites. Tritiya, you have 3 bites. And by the full moon, you have 15 bites. After having performed this, with the Nitya Puja, Anusthana and Japa of your Ishtadaiva when performed, then chanting this set of 5th, 6th and 7th mantra 5,000 times, then you get Purascharana Siddhi. I met with a Mahatma who has virtually experimented with all these mantras and all these specifications that are given. He has followed those specifications and repeated all these mantras and acquired all those Purascharana Siddhis. I am not just talking of one particular, all the aspects of Rudra, he has done every aspect of Purascharana Siddhi. Imagine that. So much so that when he sits, it is like he says, like I talk to you, like in the physical form, like seeing. I talk to all these amshas. I invoke them, invite them, and talk to them, feed them. Purascharana Siddhi. So these are not just made up. There are those who have that experience validating it. So don't take it lightly. Okay, the 5th, 6th and 7th mantra. Repeat after me. Ye vriksheshu saspinjara Nilagriva Vilohitaha Ye Bhutanam Adhipatayo Vishikhasa Kapardinaha Ye Anneshu Vividhyanti Patreshu Pibato Janan. So these are the 5th, 6th mantra with that kind of mantra siddhi. Now again, that particular sentence gets repeated for these 3 sentences of the mantra. Which part? Teshagam sahasra yojane vadanvani tanmasi. So ye vrikshe saspinjara nilagriva vilohitaha ye bhutanam adhipatayo vishikasakka pardinaha ye anneshu vividhyanti patreshu pibato janana teshagam sahasra yojane vadanvani tanmasi. It is to be understood. In the Shukla Yajurveda mantra, that is how it is given. That is the Pathantara between Shukla Yajurveda mantra and the Krishna Yajurveda mantra, that which we are seeing. Ye vriksheshu, those who are in the trees, saspinjara, having the color of the tender grass. You know the tender green color? Nilagriva, those who have the blue neck. Vilohitaha, those who are red in color. Ye bhutanam, of those beings. Adhipatayaha, those who are the presiding deities. How are they? There are two kinds, it seems. Vishikhasaha Kapardinaha. There are one kind who are no hair. There is, they have maybe bald, but it doesn't say bald. It is no hair. And those who have Kapardinaha, matted hair. Ye anneshu, those who are in the food. Vividhyanti patreshu, vividhyanti, those who cause harm through the food, through the vessels that the food is offered in, through the drink or the water, pivataha jananam, unto the people. Again, Deshagam sahasra yojane vadhanvani tanmasi. What did that sentence mean? That was yesterday's talk. How do you dare expect us to remember that? Keep all the bows. Bows unite the bow strings loosened up and connected so that their impact on us is not in a negative way. So now pulling the entire meaning together of these three mantras. Those Rudras who are in the tree having tender green color, those who have blue neck and are red in color, those who are the presiding deities of the beings who have no hair and who have matted hair, those who can harm or cause harm through their presence in food and drink and in the vessels that they are carried in, may they cast away their bow or the bowstrings loosened up so that they turn to be our blessings and not have any negative impact of these different elements that the Rudras are presiding over. Now, whenever it is said, again to re-insist that it does not mean that the Lord is in multitude. In different aspects, he expresses in a different format, different costume that he puts on, a job description that he takes to fulfill those different roles. So that is why he is, poor fellow, meditating so much. Those, as your responsibility increases and you reach to the higher levels, the pressure is high, isn't it? The tensions are high. And the worst part, as you grow higher and higher, it is a lonely place. I'm not saying you are lonely, it's a lonely place. There's so much that you cannot share with anyone, you cannot tell anyone, you cannot, for their own good. What is the best way to handle that kind of stress? Meditate. That is why wherever Bhagavan Shiva, he is always referred to as Dhyana Murti, constantly in Dhyana. Even when he takes the first role as a teacher, as Dakshina Murti, how is that environment? He is in Dhyana, Sishyas are in Dhyana, and there is a communication happening in silence. It is like he has the Bluetooth chip and you have a Bluetooth receiver and he has closed his eyes and everything is being downloaded. Without, and Gurudev puts it very beautifully, he says, they were having an eloquent speech of silence. There also he is in a Dhyana Murti. So this Dhyana Murti Shiva, if he is not doing Dhyana, he is taking care of running all these aspects of creation to maintain that balance. Vriksheshu, Vriksheshu, the trees we know have plus as well as minus. Therefore, it is often said plants like banyan, people, and such trees should not be inside the house. Why? Because of the excessive amount of carbon dioxide that it releases. During the daytime, it releases oxygen, but during the night time, the excessive amount of carbon dioxide released that consumed creates hallucination. And then you start seeing Bhuta Preta Pishacha. Therefore, the advice is, and now we take it to other extreme, that you should not have it in anywhere on the property. It is a point of reference, like when they say, Bhasmopari na kvachit nyaset. When you put the Tripundarika, Bhasma upari, on that Bhasma, don't put any Chandan Kumkum. So there are a couple of schools and their understanding. One understanding is Bhasma upari, not on the top of it, but anywhere in the middle or low. And then the second school is Bhasma upari, that it is always under the Bhasma Rekha and not anywhere on the Bhasma or on the top. I have taken the easy, right in the middle, under the Bhasma. The point of reference as to how you refer to it. So when it is said these plants should not be kept in the house, it doesn't mean on the property. Within the closed room where there is no exhaust pattern for this carbon dioxide to be released, in such environments, these plants should not be kept inside. It may be harmful. Tell me one or two plants which are okay to have inside the house. Tulasi. Because even at night times it releases oxygen. Scientifically proven. Now, another point which I don't forget to mention again and again, that these rishis of our ancestors, they were not nut jobs or gone cuckoo up their head that they started imagining things and making all this up. Which is what, as a modern scientist brain that we claim ourselves to be, brush all these things aside saying, what did they know about science? Now reading through these mantras, what do you know about science? Like there was this documentary, what the bleep do we know? Now you fill in that bleep whatever you want to add. It is very clear that they knew that the plants can be a blessing and the plant's presence, if we do not know how to use, can be a curse. This is just the plant's presence. Now different aspects of that plant sometimes can be carrying a lot of toxins. Just getting close to that plant, you start scratching all over whole day. What plant am I talking about? Poison ivy. There are some that you go through and after you come back, all over the clothes, all over, there are these pricking things. Some are like, multiple layered prickly things that it takes so much of effort to pull them out. There are some toxins in them. Now, there are these people who are, health, food, what do you call them? Freaks. Okay, I didn't say it, he suggested the word. Health food freaks. You said freaks, right? Okay, I did not say it. And just confirm me. They say that the apple seed has this kind of element in it which is highly toxic. Baba, it is like in one in the portions of it is like 1/1 billion count, and that probably will not have that kind of effect. If you take all these apple seeds and crush them together and extract that like a teaspoonful, then it may be. Macadamia nuts have this kind of thing. See, the same food which has toxin or the same plant which has toxin, it can be used as a medicine as well. Knowing how to extract that particular aspect and use it as medicine. See, as simple as the home remedies. They're not simple, they're very profound. Most of the profound stuff is very simple only. There's no complication. See, the black pepper. You use it in certain circumstances, it provides a cooling effect. And the same thing used in certain circumstances, it provides a heating effect. Like you use it with, say, rasam. And those who, the sinuses are all being released and the body feels that extra hot and you need an extra fan. And then the beads of sweat are all forming and then, is it that? No, it is good. It is hot. See, the yogurt, curds. Curds when taken at night can produce vata dosha, can lead to even kapha dosha, depending on the climatic conditions. But the same one churned with water and take it as buttermilk, they say it is a blessing. It's a good digestive, it soothes the system, it rehabilitates all the probiotics in the body. Same food, knowing when to use it, how to use it. Similarly, the plants have such toxins which can turn into a medicine. And not knowing how to use it, it can be quite an impact on the adverse effect. So Lord Rudra, who is in the Vriksha, may you be invoked in such a way that it removes diseases rather than providing harmful conditions. Ye vriksheshu saspinjara nilagrivo vilohitaha. ये भूतानाम अधिपतयः विशिखासः कपर्दिनः. Bhutanam adhipatayah, those who are presiding for all the beings, for their comfort and growth. There are two kinds. Vishikhasaha. Vishikhasaha here specifically means bald. Those who have come to that age of Vanaprastha, they are called Vishikhasa. Vishikha, Vigata Shikha, the one who has lost all hair. Meaning, they have now gone through the entire Grihastha Ashrama, they have gone through Brahmacharya and Grihastha Ashrama, meaning they have spent their entire life in that field of activity, they are now more experienced. Vishishta Shikha, that is a Brahmachari, who removes most of the hair and keeps the Shikha, that is Vishishta Shikha. But a Vanaprastha, that also is gone. There is no need for daily hair maintenance. There is no oil required, there is no, you just stand in that shower. Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadev Shivalinga. In Mahabharata, in Yaksha Prashna, in the dialogue between Yudhishthira and the Yaksha, Yaksha asks, what is the easiest way and the most profound way to become wise, to become intelligent? And there he says, Vruddhopasevaya. By serving those who are elderly, those who have gone through ups and downs of life. They have seen life with close proximity. Whenever in trouble, whenever constantly serve them and seek their advice. So in the Vyavahara, in the material world, they are the ones who provide that balance to the next generation. We don't understand that until we get the whiplash of the next generation ourselves. Until then, we consider our earlier generation as not having a clue what our generation is doing. It is only after our next generation is in picture, then we call up, Mom, we were 4 of us. How did you handle? I'm just having 2 and I'm already going nuts. See, in the older system of life, elders were a part of the family system. Not like today, wherein everybody has their own individualized nucleus families. And having that elder right in the house, various ups and downs that happen, there is one person that you can always go to, one person that you can always confide into, one person that always has seen these aspects as to, are they really my mental imagination, or are they really something that I have to be concerned about? What kind of solutions can be offered? Many of the doctors who work in ER, looking at the intensity of anxiety of the parents, can tell whether the child that they are bringing to ER is the first child, second child, or third child. A little bit of cough and wheezing, and then already in the ER. First child. By the second child, in utterly unbreathable conditioning, that is, because by then they have already tested out all the eucalyptus oil and the wicks and the inhalations and the, what do you call those, inhalers, pumps. They've tried all that. Today is done, by tomorrow by applying all these things, everything will be all right. And by then they have also learnt quite a few tips by the first experiment called the first child. The second child, these experiments are all ironed out. Imagine if there is one person in the family who has gone through this already. But then the equation is, how much should I go and ask, how much should they protrude in and barge into my life and take over? This is where the confusion comes. So here, he says, Vishikhasaha, the Vanaprasthi, are the ones who are a blessing to the society. That there was a generation, there was a time when having white hair and bald head meant that they were wise. Today it is seen as such a bad thing. If somebody has white hair and is growing old, then you're not a part of the active society. And I'm not making this up. I was in a hospice. Is it called hospice? When there is a last moments of life wherein you cannot live without the support of the hospital, but it's a long term. So they put them in hospice. So I knew of someone here and I'd gone to visit them in the hospice. And it was a shared accommodation. There was another lady. So I was talking to this lady, and the other lady, there was a curtain. She removed the curtain. Sometimes, there are so many visitors or somebody visiting in the shared accommodation. Is it annoying to the other person? So I said that profusely. Said, I'm sorry if I'm disturbing. I'll keep it low. Sorry? Why? I'm glad that there is a person other than that and other than me who I can talk to. And it was a very beautiful conversation with those two people. I went for one, but it happened, get one, buy one, get one free kind of a deal. And what was more heart-wrenching was that lady, an American lady, Caucasian. 4 kids, all of them live within 10 to 20 miles around that hospice. And she has been there for about 3.5 years. 4 kids. The entire family has divided distributed. One family comes to visit once in 3 months. That's hard. Not just hard, that is harsh. And I can understand one is in Australia, one is in Dubai, the other one is in Europe, the fourth one is somewhere in South America. Coming is difficult. Living in the same city and visiting. One comes for Thanksgiving, one comes for Christmas, one comes for. You can find whatever 4 days now. You get the picture. Having such elderly, and she was not somebody like gone cuckoo or very beautiful mind. And all that she was speaking was making such amazing sense, such wisdom. We have allowed them rotting in the hospice. Then so much can be provided right at that home, and there is somebody that you can confide into. Somebody who will not think ill of you. Somebody who will not plot against you. Such ones are a blessing. So Vishikhasaha. Kapardinaha, the second blessing to the society, are all those Paramahamsa Parivrajaka, those who are into the sannyas ashrama. Their job is to show the right path, guidance to the entire society. One shows the Vyavahara Jnana, the other one shows the spiritual Jnana. Both are required. O Lord Rudra, I invoke your presence, I invoke your blessings as the Vishikhasaha and Kapardina to bless us in these formats. And then ye anneshu vividhyanti patreshu vivato janana, expressing through food and water, may you protect us. Here in the Bhashya, Bhatta Bhaskaraji, he writes, Kshudratvena Ghudatvena Avasthitaha. In a very minute form, but having deadly impact. They are hidden in the food, in the water, and in the vessels. Again, to praise all the ancestors and rishis. They had a clear idea that all these foods and water and edible things carry microorganisms in them. And if you read that particular portion of Manusmriti according to the food, the instructions about the food, 99% of us do not follow 100% of what is being prescribed. And the greatest curse for our time is called the glorified junk box. What is a glorified junk box sitting in the kitchen? The refrigerator. See, there are so many people that come place where I live, right? So one standing instruction. Nothing cooked goes into the refrigerator. Period. Fruits, vegetables, milk, pickles. My special flavor. Yogurt, these are the things that go into the fridge. Anything cooked must be consumed immediately. How immediate are we talking about? Dvipakaha vishavatyajet. That the food should not be warmed up again. It doesn't mean that you have to eat cold food. Don't misinterpret the statement. It should be so fresh that off the fire of the pan directly onto your plate and to be consumed immediately. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Yata yamam gata rasaha. Yamam. Anything cooked which stays beyond 2.5 hours, not worth eating. Pizza, large. Double cheese. Ate 2 slices. Where do the other 4 slices go? Junk box. I have seen places, I have seen houses wherein even half bitten goes back into the box, put into the refrigerator, again take it out, put it into the another irritable and that is called the microwave. And then pull and eat. Yatayamam gatarasa. Puti paryushitam chayat. Freshness of the food. Again, let me define to the American mindset what do I mean by freshness. Fresh according to the season, not fresh of the freezer. So somebody added, into the yogurt some fruit. It doesn't taste right. They're like, are you sure this is fresh? Ayo, very fresh, Swamiji. Tell me, it doesn't taste fresh. Where is it from? From the freezer, I just took it out for you only. From the freezer is not called fresh. Do this experiment. Take 3 carrots. Put one in outside counter. Put one in the refrigeration section. Put the other one in the frozen section. The outside one starts sprouting roots and the green shoots start coming pretty soon. Even the ones which are kept inside, the refrigeration starts, getting these shoots. What happens to the one which is there in the frozen section? It has no such, because the pranic movement, the energy level is done. There is also a saying that we go completely onto the salad diet. Why? Weight Watchers. I am watching my weight. So I have to reduce the calorie intake. So in the Ayurvedic book, it is said, no food should ever be consumed without at least steaming it. See, they had amazing understanding that all these microorganisms, once under excessive pressure of the steam, they are all killed. But still the prana shakti is there. When consumed, it will be healthy. All this simplified. Ritabhuk, Hitabhuk, Mitabhuk. Ritabhuk, eat that which is righteous, that which is sattvic, righteously earned, righteously made, righteously enjoyed. Ritabhuk. Hitabhuk, eat that which is not just tasty, but that which is healthy. Because all that which is tasty invariably happens to be that which is not healthy. Hitabhuk, you know eating certain stuff gives you heartburn, acidity, bloating, but it is tasty. And then mitabhuk, don't be gluttonous. Eat appropriate amount. Eat in a regular timing, so that the food becomes a blessing and not a curse. And here, if I may add, because specifically it talks about pibato janan, see, the water that has to be consumed, boil it and then let it cool and then drink. Refrigerated water is not that healthy. The water that we consume should be at least in the room temperature, if not warm. Warm water in any weather is advised as the best way of consuming water. Once you go to India, and everybody must have gone this first patch of experience. Go to India and then chat and then go eat. And eat chat and you get a strong chata. The stomach starts hurting. What do you call that? Amoebiasis. All these waterborne things. And then from the next time onwards, wherever you go, Bisleri bottle. Boil that water, let it cool down and drink that water, it is safest. Not just the food and water, the cleanliness of the place, cleanliness of the clothes that we wear, cleanliness of the space that we live in. All these details are given. The cloth that we wear regularly, cotton, terracotta, all these other material, have to be washed every time you take them off. Every time you take them off, wash them. There are only two materials which need not be washed every single day, but have to be have to be purified every 15 days once, washed at least once in a month. What kind of cloth is it? Silk and woolen clothes. That is why in the ancient, when you go into the puja room, for all the pujas, what was the prescribed clothing? silk or woolen. We used to call it as magutam. They're made out of woolen material, soft woolen material. That I used to observe my grandfather. Once in 15 days, he used to take that out into the sun, dry it in the sun, and thrash it, beat it up, and then bring it back in 15 minutes. Once in 15 days, that is the purification process. Once in a month, wash. The rest of the clothes have to be washed regularly. The house has to be broomed, or today's world vacuumed, every single day. Once in a week, once in 15 days, once in every time the guest comes. Every single day. The space has to be maintained, the food, the clothing, the water, so that they can become a blessing and not become a curse. I think I'll stop here and continue with the rest of the mantras. Next time we meet. Shri Krishna. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.